Hey, Kevin here from Lighthouse. I just want to spend a few minutes here talking about partners. And, we're aptly calling this a Trojan partner. We spend a lot of time talking about how we secure our business. We go and deal with a lot of different businesses and we talk about, what can we do to protect our business? And quite often those discussions don't talk about your business partners, your supply chain and different things like that. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about your responsibility and that we can't just sort of leave it to, often we're dealing with very large companies, as partners, and we assume that they're going to be better protected than we are, but you can never assume. It's still your responsibility to make sure that if you have partners, it's your responsibility to make sure that they're meeting or exceeding your security standards. So right away you think, okay, well, we're doing our part, they're doing their part, so collectively we're keeping the business community safe. You can't, that's a false assumption because everybody's at different levels of maturity, they're doing different things. So if you are relying on a partner to provide you with, products, services, or what have you, it is your responsibility to make sure that they're doing everything that they do, and more importantly that you have a communication channel with them so you can see their security audits and you can do the due diligence that you have to verify that they're going to meet or exceed your standards. Okay, so when we start talking about security and supply chain and partners and everything like that, quite often we think about integration and we're trying to make our businesses more streamlined, and in doing so we built this great fortress, and we've got firewalls, we've got all kinds of stuff to protect our business and what we know. The reality is we've also often have partners that are integrated tightly into our systems. So that access is already a channel beyond our firewalls and everything else. So your threat may already be inside through these relationships that you have with other partners, and you may not even know that. That's why we have to be very diligent to make sure that they are meeting our standards, because they are now an integrated part of your business and facility and way of doing business. So we talk about your business partners and different things like that, and sometimes we look at it and we think, okay, well they're big, they've got all their act together. Sometimes it's the small partners that cause you grief. Target is a great example, and I know it's an old one back in 2013, but it was one where it was something that everybody thought was a little bit trivial. It's not a big deal. We've got an HVAC company here that's providing us with the air conditioning in our buildings. What they didn't know was there was an open access through that HVAC, which is what got exploited and caused them all kinds of grief and impacted many, many people. So in the case of Target, Target wasn't the target. They were actually, and it may have come out of just some discovery. So the HVAC company got breached, and it may have just been that the hackers got in there and started poking around to see what they could get access to, and lo and behold, there's a way that they could get a portal in through the HVAC system into the Target systems, and that just opened up a big gold mine for them to go and get some better information and stuff more valuable than probably their initial target. So how did all this come about? Well, in Target's case, they had a vendor that they used in one of the local businesses, and like I say, the attackers got through, compromised that business through that gateway, got into Target, and then we can look at the impact. You can see on the slide, 40 million plus credit cards were exposed. 70 million customers, and costing over $200 million. And if we backtrack into 2013, that was a massive breach. In today's world, it's even bigger. So we always have to do our due diligence, no matter how big or small our partners are. It could be the pathway in for a hacker, and we don't even know it. So when we talk about Target and this breach in particular, there was a small HVAC company that was providing service to one of the local Target stores, and it turned into a much bigger thing. So we look at that and we say, well, how does that apply to me? And the reality is, in a lot of companies, whether it's, your IT provider, company like Lighthouse, you trust that they're doing, their job properly. The reality is MSPs are one of the biggest targets for hackers. So if they're not doing their job properly, it creates a big risk exposure. So again, you cannot assume that other people are doing what they need to do to protect your business. You, as the business owner or business leader or decision maker, needs to verify that and make sure that's happening. So what is the impact if you don't do that? We saw what the impact was for Target, and we always look at these big scenarios because they got hero numbers that really, are, staggering. But what does it mean to you, especially the smaller businesses? When you get breached, it doesn't matter how the avenue that they come in. If you do get breached, often the case is you can be out of business, or the worst case scenario, the financial loss is significant, causes a lot of hardship. There's a lot of reputational damage that occurs from this, especially if you don't have your incident response plan buttoned up and your communication done really well. You can suffer some really bad reputational damage. And when you're a smaller business, that's a big deal. And that's, your whole brand and everything is the trust that people have in you. So as soon as you breach that, it's tough to get it back. And then at the end of the day, there's a legal and compliance, regulatory bodies that are watching for this type of thing. And those legal costs, especially if you get hit with a class action lawsuit, can be, amount to a lot of money. And that's going to be something that you don't have squirreled away, especially, like I say, the larger companies, it's just exponentially bigger for them. So we all sort of suffer that same fate of, how am I going to deal with this? And the best thing is to prevent it. So when it comes to understanding and making sure that your business partners and your service providers are doing what they need to do, just start with a conversation. Start asking them some questions about, how do they handle security? Do they have an incident response plan? Do they have a backup and recovery plan? What is their communication plan? Ultimately, if they do some data processing for you, there's industry artifacts that you can ask for, like a SOC 2 certification that will verify that they've been through an official security audit that'll give you a level of comfort and trust that they're going to be able to meet or exceed your security standards. Don't leave it to assumption. Don't leave it to any guesswork. Start the conversation early. So at the end of the day, we all, we can't do everything. We rely on partners, whether it's going to be, like you say, for providing services like IT, marketing, those types of things, data processing, or even just vendors that you're buying from and you want to build some integrations to do automatic ordering. There's a number of reasons why we want to make our businesses more efficient by building better integrations with our trusted partners. But you can't do that and think of those business efficiencies at the cost of introducing significant risk. So all the stuff that we're talking about right now is, first and foremost, you need to protect your business. You need to have your controls in place. But ultimately, when you bring on business partners and people that are helping you run your business or manage a certain part of your business, you need to make sure that they're meeting and exceeding your standards as well. So hopefully you learned a little bit about, how other businesses, we can do everything that we can in our own house, but it's the, sometimes our business partners that are the weakest link as well. So we got to make sure that we do our due diligence. So if you ever have any questions about that, you can contact anybody at Lighthouse at info@lighthouseintegrations.com, or we've created a link below where you can download your free security risk assessment for third-party vendors.